let me take a time out to say a special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio. It's 105.5, 105.9. Those of you viewing GBN TV, whether you're viewing channel 7, channel 11, channels 20, good morning to you. Welcome. Those of you also via our social media platforms, good morning to you. Whatever part of the world you're tuning in, if you're Grenadian, good morning to you also. Those of you who are non-Grenadian, but of course, you have a passion for the Spice Isle, good morning to you also, and welcome it to the point. It's the 14th day of January. It's Tuesday, the 14th day of January 2025. It's Opposition Tuesday today on To the Point, and today on today's program, representing the opposition here on the program, we have for you Mr. Roland Bhola, and he's the General Secretary of the New National Party. Let's go over and say good morning to Mr. Bhola. Mr. Bhola, good morning and welcome. How are you doing this morning, sir? And should I say Happy New Year to you and everything else in between? Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, GT. Good morning to the members and staff of GBN, and of course, your entire listening team, by whatever means they are. Thank you. It's the new year, so I think I owe you that much to say Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all of GBN management and staff, and of course the listening public, those whom I have not, and there's so many that I have not been able to reach thus far, to say Happy New Year and good tidings for 2025.
All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much also, sir. Folks, let's get the conversation rolling off. Of course, General Secretary, once again, for the New National Party, of course. How has the year started for you, sir? We know 2025, we had the, of course, the General Council, we had a convention, and everything else is rolling to 2025 thus far. How has it started for you as the General Secretary of the party?
GT, I would say fast pace. I think that's a good word that I can use. Maybe it's not, in terms of the English language, probably is not something that people would be. Well, when I say fast pace, I mean, you would quite remember during last year, 2024, there was a lot of talk. Those who believed, those who didn't believe, there were doubts in some people's minds. There was a lot of stories about whether or not the NNP was going to have its convention, whether it was just a hoax. First, in September, thereabout, we had the General Council, and soon after, we decided that we'd do everything within our power to do convention before the end of 2024, and that did come along. I must say congratulations publicly to all those who have attained position on the national executive. But everything has been in fast forward from the day the convention was over. So it's just been a lot of work from then to now.
Okay, sir. As we move along this morning, the conversation will always be on Dr. Keith Mitchell, of course, being the now former political leader, now chairman of the New National Party. Tell us, how does it feel to no longer have Dr. Mitchell as your political leader? If I could put my question in that particular way.
Let me start by saying I hope that the conversation will not always be on Dr. Mitchell, that there will be sufficient activities happening within the NNP and happening for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, that the conversation sometimes may shift to these other issues. But in particular to your question, very early days, and I would say it's a little kind of unusual because the new political leader has a style of her own and acts slightly different to the way Dr. Mitchell would have operated. I think he was a little more laid back, and so the present political leader is always on the move. She's forward thinking. She's a good planner. She likes to have, as we would say in local terms, all her ducks in a row. So she will go over things that must be done several times with you and make sure that you understand where you are and what you have to do. And she also understands what you're doing and where you are, so that you are always on the same hymn page. Some people refer to actions like that as micromanaging. I just feel that as a person in the role that she's playing now, not someone that is new to politics, because Honorable Pierre has been around as a member of the party for just over 20 years now. So she's used to politics, I believe, to that extent. But she just always wants to be assured that we're doing things proper and doing things that are going to benefit people to its maximum. So it's a little, there's some little change in the dynamics. But in terms of the work that has to be done, much of it is being carried on in a very similar way, a very similar manner, only that now you would have to give greater accountability for what you're involved in and what you're tasked with to do.
Does that change the dynamics for you? Of course, being the General Secretary, as my first question was posed, not having Dr. Mitchell as being the political leader, but now that you have the Honorable Evelyn here as your leader, how does it make you feel? Some folks will have a woman in charge and stuff like that. How does it make you feel, sir?
Well, of course, I expect some of us to feel that way. It's the first time I know that the NNP as a party has a woman at the helm. I don't think it's a strange thing to Grenada, neither is it to the rest of the Caribbean, and probably the world if we want to take in the entire world. The National Democratic Congress, I believe, and I hope that my history is correct, would have had two people in the post of, I think, one time Ms. Joan Postle, and then in the recent years, Ms. Franca Bonadine as their leader. So I'm making the point to say that it should not be something new to us as Grenadians. And then if you go through the region, we had Camilla Bisesa in Trinidad, we had Eugenia in Dominica, we now have in Barbados, Mia Motley, and even in Jamaica at one time, I think Portia Simpson Miller at one time. Did she make it through the convention? I know she attempted. Let me not go there because I can't clearly remember whether or not she was voted in, but she at least attempted, I know, at a convention at one time. So that in and of itself is nothing new. But to the new National Party, I think it has brought a slight relief, and the people around in the immediate, those who you can see, those who you interact with almost on a daily basis, you can feel that they have a lift in their energy and their hopes for the future. Not that Dr. Mitchell was not bringing hope, he was, but most times when there is something new, there's that new outfit in the closet. When the time is coming close for you to wear it, you feel a certain level of pride and lift because it's something new and you want to see how it will go. There is some apprehension in some of our people too. There are those who still have their little doubts and they are in a sort of let's wait and see attitude. Let us not rejoice or think that so much would happen, so much changes would come so early. But let's give us some time. Let's test the waters in that kind of way. But in a general sense, yes, things are going forward. I believe with a lot more energy in it.
All right. Let me also ask you this. We know there's a transition process that is going through right now. Dr. Mitchell, former political leader. Now we have, the Honorable Ermin Pierre being the political leader of the party. The entire executive now, there are a lot of changes there. How is that process of transition going? And my second question along with that is, though, what's that feeling within the NMP camp? How does it feel now from the transition process that has taken place and that feeling within the NMP camp?
I would want to use the word seamless, but I think I need to put almost in front of it, because with everything that you do, there are sometimes little kinks here and there, little things that you did not see, you didn't cater for, that can bring some level of discomfort sometimes to people who are involved. But in a general sense, there has been no major upheavals. The people of the party have not acted in any way to suggest to us that they are displeased or they are unhappy with the transition. So far, the commendations have been coming in, as much as I know. There have been a lot of congratulatory messages. There have been a lot of message of people saying, look, whatever it is that I can do, please let me know. I'm willing to help. I'm willing to step on board. There are those who say, look, I won't be in the forefront. I don't want to be a member of any committee or anything, but I'm there as a silent supporter. And I'll do what I can quietly to ensure that the party regains the kind of prominence that it once had, and most importantly, work together with those at the end to see that we become successful in any election to come. In terms of how the rank and file members feel, I believe that we would always have a few disgruntled people. Of course, remember, it all started up as a contest, which ended up very lamely in the end. There was the Honorable Peter David, who had expressed his interest and intent to contest, and finally decided to bow out of the race at the 99th hour. And he's given several reasons why he wanted to do so. So the thing is, I believe that there were people within the NNP family that probably would have preferred to see another person. Maybe it's a Peter David, maybe somebody totally different who has never even entered the race. But people had their choice, and they had a right so to do. And for some of these people, while they accept that Honorable Pierre is now the leader, they may not take it as happily like some others. So they may still have the little disgruntledness and little issues that they want to clarify. But let me just point in here that Honorable Pierre, I believe, is doing an excellent job since 15th December to now in terms of reaching out. I cannot say necessarily to people who have the qualms about not seeing another person, but probably people who generally had issues with the party, people who had little fallouts, and as I oftentimes say on these programs, politics is a feature of conflict, and sometimes when we don't manage it well enough, you get followed. I know personally that she has been reaching out to these people one-on-one, not in a group, not in a broad-based meeting, but one-on-one, individually, by a phone call. She has written to some people. She has asked others, if you feel burdened by anything, you feel that you're dissatisfied with anything, come, let us have a conversation. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'll be able to fix everything that you request, so I'll be able to change what has happened in the past. But of course, we can look at the future. We can chart a new way forward. We can do things differently. We can accommodate you differently, once it is possible. So she has taken on the singular role of being the peacemaker and of amending, not building fences, but bridges, so that we can get across and touch one another again and extend the family of NNP.
All right. 2024 was a year, some folks may say, of course, within the ranks and file of the new National Party, was a year of challenges for the particular organization. Tell us about these challenges that the new National Party faced in 2024, and how has the party, of course, may have addressed them. Our plan to, of course, continue addressing those issues that they may, or challenges, I should say, that they may have faced in 2024 as we're moving into 2025 right now.
GT, first of all, I must, and we have to accept as a party, there had been some turbulence, and it all started when we were not victorious at the last general elections. So a lot of persons was displaced. Some people who were, as we know it, political appointees lost their position and lost their income, lost their way of life. So it was a struggle for quite a lot of people before they can find their feet again, before they can settle in. The party had to go through a process of reorganizing. There were some of our people who contested in the last general elections that decided, well, that was it for me, After a loss, I'm not going back. So we are still in the process of trying to find replacement in one or two places. We had been able to plug it by putting in what we first called political leads, or people to lead the political work in the constituency, which sometime after we changed to caretakers, because the constitution of the party recognized a caretaker. And a caretaker does exactly what the political leads were expected to do. So we followed the constitution and renamed them caretakers. That being said, we had the whole issue of not having convention for almost 2 years. And that brought into the minds of some people the feel that we were disintegrating. NNP was now falling apart because the Constitution calls for at least one convention per year. And so while internally we were deciding how best we do it, because we had facing us, after 35 years, the fact that we were going to seek a new leader or seek new leadership for the party, because Dr. Mitchell had clearly said to us that was it for him. There were those who had the doubts and the disbelief, and we knew all that was said. But we kept focus as a party, and that's something I want to give credit to the members, and especially the last executive, the executive before the convention. They kept the focus. There were some of us who was a little bit impatient, and we thought we were taking too long, and people expressed themselves. They said how they felt and so. But there were some of us who fully believed that if we did this thing proper, if we took time, if we analyzed, if we got assistance, if we got advice from other jurisdictions where they had similar issues of a change in leadership, what did they do, how did they go about it, and so on. Then as a result, we were able to set up the transition committee, which was challenged. It said that the Constitution did not call for that. And, a lot of those things happened, but we braced it. As General Secretary, I went under scrutiny. I was given some heavy hammer at times that I was not doing what I should. But I never wanted to get out into the public too loudly and say what was happening behind the scenes, because there are some charter that I believe are meant only for the back room. We will disagree with one another. We will disagree on processes. We will disagree on how we should do things and timing for things. But when we go to the public, we have to always appear as being united, because people are hooking their hopes on you. They are hoping that you can work together. And of course, as human beings, it happens in families, husbands and wives, 30 years of marriage, and there are disagreements. And if anyone believes that within a political party there will not be disagreements, then we are not living on the same planet. There will be disagreements. As I've always said, it is how do you manage it? How do you deal with it? The moment a conflict arises, do you go into the public and spread it out and start blaming and pointing fingers? Or do you try to sit and pull people together and say, let's rethink this thing. Let's look at that over again. Because we are combatants. We want our ideologies to survive. But we don't have to be enemies in the process. And so it was a tough and battling time during 2024. But at least we got there. Some people are not happy about the processes that were used to get there. But in the final analysis, there was results that I believe majority of the party is satisfied with. As I've mentioned earlier on, there are still some people who have the qualms, who would talk, there are issues that will be raised. There are still some kinks that we have to iron out. There are still some people that we must meet and sit with and explain to them and see if we can get them to better understand why and how certain things happened. But coming into the new year and having the new executive and the new leader, I am seeing brighter light at the end of the tunnel. Some people are recognizing that they need to give support where they weren't support before, and they're coming to terms that, hey, this is who we have to work with. May not be my best choice, but I'm an NNP. I support the party. I support the principles and values of the party. So let me do the best I can, and let us hope for the best as a result. And as we oftentimes say in the backroom charter, which I will put out now, hey, what do you think? If things doesn't work out, the plan is that every year, that's what the Constitution called for. There was a break in that for the last 2 years or so, that you have convention. Persons can be changed. If Roland Bhola is not performing as he should, or as the people would like for me to do, come next convention, they vote me out. They put me out. Somebody else who has the ability and probably can perform better than me will come in. So too will be the PRO, so too will be the political leader if things doesn't work out. So I think we at the moment are moving forward in the correct way. Lots to do. But as we continue to unfold and unveil the new plans for 2025, I think more and more people would have a better understanding of where we are now, where we are heading, and how we intend to get there.
Okay. Mr. Bhola, we drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue with the conversation. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We drew for a break. Let's take it, folks. Stay with us. We'll come in right back. Don't touch it down.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. It's Opposition Tuesday here on the program this morning. We say welcome back to Mr. Roland Bhola. Mr. Bhola, good morning once again, and welcome back, sir.
Thank you, GT. I'm here.
I want to get into another segment of questions I would like to ask you in relation to, of course, the new political leader spoke a whole lot about, that 5-point agenda, to evolve the party, as General Secretary. I'm sure you have, that huge responsibility to drive that new agenda that the new political leader is speaking about. How has that process been going thus far?
It has started well, GT. The very first thing that was done during the holidays, as I say, the political leader is a workaholic, and I hope she will not have to discipline me for referring to her like that on public radio. But she likes to get things done when she has things to do. And so the involvement of quite a few of us over the Christmas into New Year holidays, having to be on Zoom meetings and, didn't give us much of a time for the celebration that we are accustomed to, the serenading and the liming and the drinking. It was political work in preparing the plan. So she started, first of all, with the plan for 2025, which we were able to complete. I mean, she doing the Herculean task of carrying most of that work. And that was already presented to the new executive on the 6th of January, week 1. And everything has a time frame to it. So presentation and acceptance and getting the buy-in of the general executive was completed. And week 2 we have started off, which was yesterday, with the second week by doing Meet Your Leader SOTA meeting in St. Patrick's East, the River Sally Government School, last night. On Wednesday night, she would be in Sauterre, St. Patrick's West at the Anglican Primary School. In terms of unveiling the plans, doing similar to what she did with the executive, explaining now to members of the party, rank and file members in the various constituencies, what is going to drive us from where we are to where we want to be. And the 5-point plan it entails several other detailed plans that we would have to work on. But your question is, where does that leave me? How much? So yes, as General Secretary, it leaves me quite a bit of work to do. There's an Assistant General Secretary also. But more importantly, what we have is select committees that have been set up with various chairs and members, not just national executive members, but other persons within communities, within constituencies, helping to form these committees that are going to drive the different aspects of the work. So, like, there's a plan to launch the NNP Institute by February, which means that there are people to drive that, where we will have our members go online and be able to learn the history of the party, the values, the core values of the party, our mission statement as a party, our mission statement for Grenada, which is different to our party's mission statement. And so, because we have come to the conclusion that being an NNP must not just be someone wearing a green cap or a green T-shirt that has the symbol of the house. Being an NNP must mean that you're contributing in different ways to your party. So yes, you must join and become a card-bearing member. So you're not just a supporter, but you have a stake in what is happening in NNP. And so there is the Membership Drive Committee, which is being led by the Deputy General Secretary. You have the PRO, who has his work cut out and doing well so far with a lot of work on his hand, and he has a committee that is working with him. Then you have the Finance Committee and you have the Fundraising Committee, which are two separate committees. The Women's Arm, they have separate and apart from the Women's Executive, by the way, whom we are expecting to have a convention to have new leadership and new people, or returning of the same people to their executive sometime later in February. You have the youth section. So outside of the youth having their convention carded for the 25th of January, and they've been working feverishly with all of the constituencies, getting the young people involved, trying to get them to become members, those who are not yet, and to organize the delegates and so forth, their convention as youth. You have a youth committee that works along with them and help to drive them. So I then have the overall responsibility of engaging all of these committees, ensuring that they're doing what they're supposed to do, that they meet regularly, that they report, because every single committee has to report. So at the end of the month, I can give a formal report to the National Executive on what has happened in the various constituencies based on what the various committees are responsible for. So it has always been that way for the General Secretary, because you are the chief organizer of the party, making sure that the wheels keep on turning, that the brakes are really working when you need to press it, that the horn can blow when there's a crowd in the road, because you don't want to get into an accident. So you are like the heartbeat. The General Secretary and his team is like the heartbeat of the party. That has always been the case. What we have now, though, is a greater activation of some of this work as compared to before. It was a little more laissez-faire, a little more, people were put onto committees, people were asked to do certain things, were given certain tasks in terms of reference. But generally, I don't think we used to put a time frame to when you must complete certain aspect of your task. Now we have that. You have time. Things must be completed by a certain time, and if not, the reports will be given and certain action. The disciplinary committee is up and running, and so the terms of reference committee, they're all there. They are all there, all working and having their meetings and driving the sectors as best as they can, as fast as they can, and getting more and more people involved in the process.
The question may be asked, Mr. Bhola, why has it taken a new political leader to get that new drive, that new drive within the organization? Why has it gotten to having to get a new political leader to see that drive being reviged. Of course, more emphasis been put into the party by a new leader coming in. Why has it taken that to happen with a party with a history that it has? Why has it taken a new leader to get that drive coming?
Let me say, GT, straight up, I don't have an exact answer to that question. But I only imagine that with a new political leader, with new drive, she has to follow on some of the things that was left by the last political leader in terms of following the basic principles of the party, in terms of staying with the core values of the party. But of course, she has to make her new tracks, her own tracks. She has to do some things that will have people view her in a positive sense and understanding that she has purpose and that she means well and that she can drive the party from one stage to the next. Coming in as a new leader doesn't mean that you just come and lie in the bed that was made by the previous leader. Yes, the bed is there, but you can shift the mattress around. You can change the direction that the pillows were. You can put on new bed sheets. So I think it's the new energy, and then maybe after a while we have gotten so used and so accustomed. We have become during the era, the latter part of Dr. Mitchell's stint as political leader. I think there was some level of complacency that stepped in for us. He, having been in the position for a while, he felt that probably things were running okay. We were still being victorious at some of the elections, but with the loss that we had in the last election, and of course the fact that we now have new blood at the helm, we probably are taking new strides, and so I don't know if that's all the reasons why, but I want to believe that these may be some of the reasons why we're seeing things happening, because what is being done is not really new things that are imported from outside. The new political leader is probably viewing it from a different viewpoint than the former political leader, and maybe approaching it with a slightly different, or she's been more tactical, probably we could say, or approaching it differently to how the previous political leader was approaching it. And so it appears in the eyes of some people to be all new issues, but they were always the fundamentals on which the party was built on. There were always things that the founding fathers prepared and the Constitution called for, and the committees were committees that was meant to be formed and put in place immediately after a convention. Some of them operated well, others didn't. New political leader is putting emphasis on all and is asking everyone on the committee to perform, not just take the position or be named on a committee and you probably met once or twice for the year or never met at all. Yeah, so the new energy, I think, has some responsibility for that.
Look, explain to me, sir. There's a concept of change and or improvements, if I could put that particular word, they made to the party, the structure and the organization, to adopt the new current political and social demands. Explain that to me. That change or improvements that have been made to the party. There's that new current political and social demands out there right now. As Grenadians, there's a change that everyone is looking forward to right now. Explain to me that bit. That improvement that the party is looking forward to for that new.
GT, I don't think there's a change in the structure of the party. Mm-hmm. I don't believe there's a major change to the philosophy of the party. There may have been some tweaking, and as you correctly said, things are changing. There's a new political demand. People operate differently. Years ago, you had the party doing a lot of printed material, pamphlets and so, to get messages out, to send out information of importance and so. In this new era, you have all these gadgets and the different formats that you can use, whether it's Facebook or Twitter. Well, I don't even know if Twitter still exists because they're changing so fast that I personally cannot keep up with the pace of change. So I'll give you an example. We always had the imparting of what we call political education and party information to people, and you would do a retreat, or you would do some political classes, whether nationally or you break it down into constituencies. Now that will still happen, but now you are launching the institute, where a lot more people, especially the younger people, can go in online, and all of the information will be there for them to read. There may be some podcasts and so being done that people can go and listen to. So it is the work that has been done before continuing, but in a different way. So it appears as though you're changing structure. We are not changing structure. Structure remains the same as the Constitution laid out. What is happening is the processes that you are using to do the same things that you used to do before. It's becoming more dynamic. I'll give you another example. We're pretty soon are going to launch or put into place our online banking as a party for when people want to make contribution. Because only recently someone approached or phoned in the political leader and said, look, I want to make a financial contribution to the party. What's your, what you call it, SWIFT code or whatever it is, because they want to send it online, but we are not yet there. It's not that it is not existing, but the old way of doing things, you collect a check, you get an envelope, somebody goes, you give them a bank account, and they walk into the bank, and they put it into the account. But now you want to move into online banking, where people can stay wherever, whichever part of the world, if they are sympathizer of the NNP or an associate member, an honorary member, and they want to make a financial contribution, they can do it from home with their own device and things like that. So it is not really structural changes. It is just processes that are changing, trying to make it more people-friendly, more accommodative. Of course, you will still have to do some of the things in the same fashion like you did before, because there are still members who are not up to speed with all of the technology and the new ways of doing things, and still likes the fact that you come to the home, you do house-to-house visit, that you sit with them, that you kiss the old ladies and you raise the babies and things like that. You still have people who welcome that and wants to see that. So you can throw it out of the way. Yeah. So there's going to be a different mix. So the dynamism with which things are happening are going to be different, are going to feel different, and so people may think, well, it's a different party, but it's not. It's the same party, just adapting some of the more modern ways in which we did things before.
Young people will say that young people know it's playing a pivotal role in political organizations and so forth. How would the new national party now get the young people involved, especially in the activities and even leadership? How is the new national party planning doing that?
But we are doing it. We are doing it. How we plan, I can't explain all of that to you. I don't think we want it to be public knowledge of all our techniques and what we're doing. But we do have young people involved, and we are involving them in many ways. So, for example, I give you our PRO at the moment. It's just past 30, I think 31 or getting into 31. We have a very dynamic young lady. It spoke on the platform in the latter part of last year, in very, very sensitive to the issues of young people, can speak well on it. And she's the person in the lead and is campaigning hard to become our youth president at the next youth convention, and then on the national executive in terms of flow membership, and so there are about 4 young people that made it into was elected in SAS on the 15th as flow members of the party. The Assistant General Secretary herself, my parliamentary rep, Skeeter Kate Lewis, is a pretty young person herself. So we have a lot of young people taking prominent position, but more than that, we have just launched, well, not launched, but it is in the process. They are meeting, the co-members are meeting, and they will soon have a launch. I think they are hoping to do that before the end of this year, called the Young Professionals. So outside and separate and apart from the youth arm, which generally are people from about 16, 17, 18, up to the 21-year-old, up to, you can go up to 30 to consider them as youth, because I think the United Nations recognize up to 35, if I'm not mistaken. It is a separate body now called young professionals, where you have young people in their 30s, just above the 35, probably 36, under 40, who are already professionals, who are already on the labor market. Their jobs, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're accountants, bankers, teachers, what have you. That will be in a different section and be playing a different role, not necessarily out there taunting green t-shirts and waving green flags, but having the right to meet and discuss and to feedback to the political leader and other members of the executive their views on certain things. There may be decisions that we may want to take as a national executive that will have implications for the countries and for those sectors. So you may want to do a presentation to them or run the issue by them and get their feedback, get them to discuss it among themselves and give you their own feelings. So young people, yes, they have to play a role. We oftentimes say they are the future, but they are also the present, because if you don't involve them now, they will not get the understanding of the things that needs to be done. And when the time comes around, they may dabble and make some of the mistakes that we made. So we are quite aware of that, and we are using different techniques, different things to attract, to speak to them, to get them involved, to get them as members of the party.
Now, folks will say there's a new, of course, political chapter that the new National Party is getting into. What is that message the new National Party wants to convey, especially to supporters, critics, etc., about that new chapter of the new National Party? If you could, of course, tell us that message that the NNP wants to send out or convey to the supporters.
But it's a message of love. NNP has always been a party of love, that we are welcoming to everyone, making them know, of course, everyone will not be able to hold the same position. Everyone will not be able to sit on the high seat. Everyone cannot be the political leader, but everyone can play a role, and an important role, and everyone is valued. And that in going forward, we are going to extend our arms and extend the olive branch and make sure that we can accommodate every person. Accommodation may not all time be a suite. You're going to a hotel, some people can afford a suite. They have what it takes. Some of us can only afford a normal room, based on price and everything else. But in the case of the NNP, it's not about price. It's not about how deep your pocket is. It is about what you can offer. And what you can offer is not only dollars and cents. What do you bring to the table? How much can you accommodate as an individual in terms of helping to build the membership, in terms of helping to build the camaraderie, in terms of helping to build bridges and to reach people who have not been touched or reached for quite a while. People who might be out there, who have a desire, but we have not been able to reach them yet. And that job is not only for the political leader or for the persons who may eventually become candidates in different constituencies. They have a major role to play. But sometimes the way in reaching people, the way in getting across the line, is by using other people who may have a better relationship with an individual, a family, a group, a company than you, the leader or the candidate may have. And so we have to use the various methods. And we can only do that by expressing love to people, by being accommodative, by having a listening ear, by not being too aggressive sometimes. And sometimes because politics is referred to as a feature of conflict, sometimes we get too aggressive. Sometimes we forget the humanistic values and that sometimes we have to be humble. Many a times we get overwhelmed by the work and the task before us. And so we behave differently to how we should. So we need people to be around us to always remind us, hey, I thought the last time I heard you were a little too arrogant, or I thought you used words that was a little too strong. So constant reminder, a constant pulling in, because I tell you, we will make mistakes. It doesn't matter how hard we try. It doesn't matter what we put in place. It doesn't matter how strong our structure is. Mistakes will be made. It doesn't always have to be necessarily the political leader or a candidate, but the people close to us sometimes can make mistakes, and those mistakes will reflect on us. So we have to be prepared for that, and that is why we have to listen, and that the more people we have involved, the more contacts we have, the more groups that we keep in touch with, the more we will know, the quicker we will understand. And so we can make the adjustments pretty early when these things occur.
All right. Mr. Bhola, we drew for a break. Let's take. When we come back, we invite, of course, listeners and viewers of there. If you do have a question or two you may like to ask Mr. Bhola in relation to the question that I may have asked that you may want to expand a bit on the answers that he may have given, or you may have a question you may like to ask him, feel free to do so in the next segment. Take a break, folks. We're coming right back. Stay with us to the Point Classic Radio, GBN TV.
It's clearly documented that we have been having, as a planet, an increase in incidence of cancers. So remember, cancer is a genetic disease.
When you now look at somebody's DNA or their genetics, it can tell you everything about a person. So what we use next generation sequencing to do in particular is to look at hereditary cases of diseases.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Records at the traffic department shows that a total of 1,447 accidents were reported for the year 2012, which includes 3 road fatalities. 2,946 accidents were reported for the year 2022, which includes 8 road fatalities. This is a significant increase of 104%. This is alarming. When a family tragically loses a loved one, does it matter whether by means of a gun or a motor vehicle? To avoid accidents, drivers and pedestrians alike must exercise extreme caution when using the road.
Coming up, these chefs and mixologists produce their creative best for their biggest party yet. This steel band has been making a difference for over 40 years. An island filled with beauty, a vibrant culture, and an iconic natural attraction. Now, where can this be? It's all next on this station.
Welcome back once again to our listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to the Point Classic Radio, GBN TV. It's Tuesday, the 14th day of January, 2025. With us this morning, we have Mr. Roland Bhola, the General Secretary of the new National Party, on the program this morning. And I did mention before the break, we're going to invite our listeners and viewers, if you do have a question or two that you may like to ask Mr. Bhola, feel free to do it in this segment, folks. And the lines are open to you, 435-2041. You could call me directly, or you could call me via the WhatsApp, 435-2041. We do have our first caller. Let's go over to the phone line. Caller, your life. Good morning. Caller, your life. Good morning.
Good morning, JT.
Good morning to you. How are you doing this morning?
Not bad at all. Mr. Bhola, Happy New Year. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too and your family.
It seems like we're becoming good friends, man. It seems like I see you every Tuesday now. All right, Mr.
Well,
Bhola,
I thought we were always friends. I didn't know we were becoming.
No, never at all. Mr. Bhola, okay, first question I want to ask you. Did the leader of your party reach out to Peter David?
Yes, she did.
Okay, she did record. Okay, Mr. Bhola, there is a lot of members of the NNP who is dissatisfied with what happened. And you and I know, Mr. Bhola, that there was dishonesty in the party. And Richard listened to Real FM, and a lot of members calling for a third party now. The members who support Peter David and some of the members who don't support MNP are calling for a third party. I want to know, what do you think about having a third party like how they had in the Republican Party, had a Tea Party within the party? Okay, and
but before you go further, caller, before you ask any other questions, I would like to hear from you what was the dishonesty, because I don't know of any dishonesty within the party. So I would like you to clarify or give me a bit of understanding.
No problem. I'm willing to do that. Mr. Bhola, you know the forming of the committee was wrong. It was not constitution, and also we heard the rhetoric that was coming from Kit Mitchell. Mr. Bhola, also we know about T-shirts and banners that was printed as MNP as a political leader, and you know that a fact because the night it was shown. You understand? We also learned about how delegates was picked, people who was delegate before they wasn't chosen, and there were so many different areas where the goalposts had to move to make MNP the political leader. And it's a fact, you know. And
you really have a lot of facts, caller, because you're asking a lot of things and you're saying a lot of things that are totally untrue. So I just want to break in because I'm going to forget some of them. I don't know a fact.
No. I don't finish it, my question. I don't finish it.
No, I know you ain't finished, but they're coming in plenty and I don't want to forget.
Because I know callers have
asking you to allow me to just respond to that last part there, and then if GT allows you to ask more, that's okay. Can that happen? Because
Go right ahead, please.
My head. Okay. Now you're saying that I know and I know and I know. I don't know anything that you're talking about. But first, delegates cannot and was not changed and cannot be moved. Every delegate for every constituency was chosen by the constituency, not by me, not by any other person, right? That is the fact. The fact is, when you choose your delegate and it comes in, there must be a check, constituency by constituency, against the register that we have for every constituency in terms of membership. So there must be a check. Roland Bhola came in to be a delegate. Let's check. Is Roland Bhola a registered member of the party? And secondly, is he up to date with his party dues, which is $5 monthly? If that is not the case, a statement is sent back to the constituency, to the individual who hands in the delegate list to say Roland Bhola is not seen as a registered member, or Roland Bhola is registered but is outstanding by 6 months with the payment. The constituency determines whether they would pay the amount, whether they would register Roland Bhola now, or if they will make a change. So it is only the constituency could change, not anyone else. That process normally goes to the office to be managed, yes, to get the things through and through. So I don't know where you got
Mr. Bhola, let me put
no, listen, let me answer. Let us not make it a quarrel. Let me answer you. You made your accusations and I'm answering you. If Emmeline Pierre and her team printed T-shirts or whatever, I do not know about that. Emmeline Pierre and Peter David were in a contest. What Emmeline Pierre did or Peter David do, once it doesn't break the law, it is no concern of mine or of the party. You are saying that the forming of a transition committee was illegal because it was not in the constitution. There are several things that the party executive can take decisions on and can do. That is not in the constitution. That is why you have an executive. What do you think is the purpose of the executive? To help guide and to make bylaws and so on, to do things that will cause you to have a correct effect at the end of the day. So I don't know where your legal degree came from and what makes you believe that you know everything about the NNP and what the NNP did. That
Mr. Bhola, why were you called to St. Patrick West with the Why were you called to St. Patrick West with the meeting, and then you had to get permission from Kip Mitchell when they said that delegates wasn't chosen the proper way by Victor Philip?
I have been to St. Patrick's
Mr. Bola,
West
why was 4 people?
Caller, let's not have a back and forth, please. And of course, caller, thank you so much. And let Mr. Bola answer. Yeah.
I have been to St. Patrick's West several times to several different meetings. And every time they write or they ask me to go to a meeting, I report to the executive. That is my role as General Secretary. The last time they called, I was told by the political leader, aren't you tired of going to these meetings to answer the same thing over and over again? You are not even a member of the party. So you just have hearsay and you come in and tell me about what is wrong and what is right. If my national executive gives me an order, whom should I follow? Anyway, if you have more, let's go on.
We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, GT morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we are
Mr.
hearing you.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
You know, it's interesting that this gentleman is of a party within a party. I don't know where you are.
Caller, for some reason you're
but interesting.
You're breaking up very badly. Caller, so I'm not sure if your location or what, but see if we can have that resolved. Go right ahead, please.
You hear me better now?
Go right ahead, please.
You hear me better now?
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Interesting that this man bring up this issue about a party within a party that people are advocating for now. What broke up the revolution was a party within the NJM party, which I used to be one of the leader of at one time. And that party is called Oral. It was formed by during the revolution, and this is the party that come and break up the revolution. There is the aim and effort now to break up the NNP. I'm not a party person, but that is interesting that the man bring up that kind of thing. But Mr. Bhola, there's so much that people need to understand and know when it comes to loyalty, or appreciate, you might say, and understand when it comes to loyalty. If you are part of an organization and you want to have change within the organization, there are ways of doing it. Now, at the same time, the party had to have a convention. This whole thing about presenting delegates to the contending leaders in the party is a whole set of nonsense. I don't understand where people get that whole thing. You have to present it so that they go campaigning delegate by delegate. That doesn't make sense. When the people get into the convention, they vote for who they want to. Now, he dropped out of the convention, but there they are lamenting. Why he dropped out of the convention or the contending leadership? He know what time it is. And there was a statement I made on the Thursday before the convention that he needed to explain to the people of Grenada what he meant by "we have time." That's a critical statement that Peter David made one time, right in front of me. What he meant by "we have time." Now, the time was coming, but he loses time. Take care, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Mr. Bhola, I don't know if you want to respond to the caller or we move on to another caller.
No, I think he more made statements and asked a question. The only thing I would make mention of is the issue of presenting delegates. That has never been the practice of the party. Whoever delegates are has always been a secret kept until the day of convention. Everybody knows who the delegates, except, I think, even except the constituencies may know the leadership of a constituency, who they chose, because they're the ones who choose. The town of St. George chose the candidates like every other constituency did. So I don't know what's the issue there.
All right, let's go to another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Good morning, JT. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Go right ahead, please, sir.
Mr. Bhola, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
JT, it's on my caller program and I have a lot of questions to ask. But I break it down to one or two because I know the lack of time. That individual keep doing the same thing over and over, asking several questions and kill the program. I don't be afraid of a woman power. Woman power is going to take over this ball, JT. Women have the know-how, have the understanding how to take care of things, and men. Right? And we're going to try a woman this time to see what Grenada can move forward. Have a nice day, brother.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Any response to the caller statement, Mr. Bhola?
No, I mean, the caller expressed his view. We want to try a woman. It is the right of the people to either agree or disagree, with what he said.
Mr. Bhola, before we take a wrap, because it's almost time for us to take a wrap for today's program, I want to ask you this. We've been hearing about the NNP have this, of course, having about this 15 meetings planned for the next few weeks in all constituents. Tell us about that, and how is that going thus far before we take a wrap this morning?
Right. In the national plan, GT, that I told you we presented to the executive on the 6th, there's an intent to go to every single constituency between now and the middle of February, hopefully, at least about 3 per week, to bring to them the plan. Just like it was done to the executive, the political leader wants to go and speak to the people of the various constituencies to tell them, this is what we're planning to do, how we're planning to do it. This is how you can get involved. This is what we expect of you. This is what we want to present to you, what you can hold us accountable for, and give them the timelines for various things to happen. Let them have the information firsthand from her. So it's kind of like constituents getting an opportunity to meet the new political leader, to ask questions, because there's a section at the end after she makes her presentation. So it's not like the regular constituency meetings where you'll bring several persons to come and talk on different issues, health and housing and agriculture. And so it's not that kind of meeting. It's basically a meeting where, yes, you would have welcome remarks and so by the President MP or caretaker, whatever it may be, and you get as soon as possible. Maybe one other person. In the case of last night, where it started in Riverside, Dr. Mitchell did pass, and just to give a brief remark and to congratulate in the presence of the people, the new political leader, and she outlines to the people, these are the things that we are hoping to do. This is how we want to do them. This is where we want you involved. This is the role we expect you as constituents to now play, and then give them a chance for questions, comments, answers, suggestions if they do have. So that's what that 15, that first rollout will be like. After that, there'll be another series of meetings, which of course GT people like you and others in the media would know about.
All right. Mr. Bhola, anything in closing before we take a wrap this morning? Anything in closing you may want to try?
Well, I just want to be grateful to GBN and of course for giving me the opportunity, for my party, for giving me an opportunity to come to explain a couple of things. To all of the callers, I respect whatever views you have and your questions, but sometimes we have to get things right before we make accusation. And of course, I want to wish the whole of Grenada, the entire Grenada, and of course the neighboring islands a very happy new year, that 2025 will really bring to us some of the things that we desire most. GT, you have a wonderful day, and the rest of GBN.
Thanks, and that same goes out to you, sir, and all the best until we have another conversation again. Best wishes goes out to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Hey, folks, that's where we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. Join me again tomorrow for another edition. Have a good one, folks. Goodbye.